we bury another Lincoln?
Lieutenant! Remove Marshal Lamon from the fort.
Lincoln!
You seize him.
Lord knows I valued Mr. Lincoln's life more than my own. But keeping him alive these past 4 years was nigh on impossible.
If you so valued his life, why were you not at Ford's theater?
To understand that, you'd have to hear the whole tale.
He has no answer. He merely bargains for time.
Let him speak.
Oft have I wondered how I, a son of the South, came to be entrusted with that precious life when so many of my brethren sought to take it.
Imagine my surprise. The richest man in town dies. I find old Bap McNabb sobbing a river at the funeral. Whoa, Bap, says I, was you a close relation of the deceased? No, says Bap, gulping down a sob. No relation at all. Well, why do you weep? He says, well, that's why.
Tremendous, tremendous.
Evening, stranger. Passing through, are you?
No, sir. I'm Ward Hill Lamon, J.J. Brown's cousin. I've come to try my hand as a lawyer here in the 8th Circuit.
Well, I should know at once you're a Virginian.
Was it the velvet coat?
The white neckcloth, I'd say.
Boys, you missed the matter entirely.
Must be the soft hands.
What? Now, while it may be certain our young limb of the law here has never split a rail.
I beg pardon, sir, but I have done a deal of manual labor in my time.
Oh, was it thirsty work superintending your slaves?
No, sir. I detest slave labor.
Counselor Lamon, I apologize for any offense we may have given.
Very kind, sir. I accept.
And I beg that you will indulge these gentlemen of the bar and our fellow Illinoisans by showing us a bit of your claw hammer.
English, of course. Not entirely au courant, but I hope the fit flatters.
The fit flatters? Oh, that is good. Counselor Lamon, if you please, a Virginia claw hammer. Western Virginia, if I do not mistake.
Oh. Your chair, sir, if I may. Well, I'm more of an up and down picker myself, but if it's West Virginia claw hammer you wish to hear.
Please.
You know, I find myself in need of lubrication.
With the blessing, Counselor.
Very handsome of you, sir. I thank you. When I was young, I used to wait
On my master and hand him his plate.
pass him the jug when he got dry, and brush away the blue-tailed fly. Jimmy crack corn and I don't care. Jimmy crack corn and I don't care.
Mr. Lincoln was always a great favorite in this region. But the man he admired most was Ned Baker. One sprung from a dirt farm, the other from the British upper class. Yet they shared sport, law, and politics. Ned became such a close friend of the Lincolns, they named their son Edward Baker Lincoln in his honor. When that child died of consumption, Mr. Lincoln suffered from a protracted melancholy, alarming all of us who loved him, particularly Mrs. Lincoln.
Oh, excuse me. Oh, Mr. Lamon, so good of you to come. Look, Lamon's here.
It was fortunate that I arrived at just this time. For in short, I had the same effect upon him that whiskey has upon me.
Abolitionist settlers led by one John Brown.
Drink up, boys. Kansas ain't getting closer if we stand in here.
killed 5 pro-slavery men in the incident. Each of the victims was hacked to death by a broadsword.
Just desserts, I say.
You, sir, are a shameless anarchist.
To hate slavery is not anarchy, it is morality.
The practice is wrong and archaic, and it will die of its own accord. But to foment bloody revolution is irresponsible and pig-headed.
Oh, you are a stone-hearted cracker. John Brown is a hero. When I gets to Kansas, I will shoot John Brown twixt the eyes. Slither on back to Kentucky, you no-account ruffian. Boys, looks like we found us a abolitionist. I'm proud of it.
Billy! Gentlemen, this debate appears unlikely to remain civil. Why not pass on through?
Well, slither on back to Kentucky. I will cut your tongue.
This debate, is over.
Now, let us discuss Kansas. It is wrong to introduce slavery there. Flat
Do you wish your daughters to marry free Negro men?
out wrong. I hate the monstrous injustice of slavery. And I hate how it enables the enemies of free institutions with plausibility to taunt us Americans as hypocrites.
And it is he who created this new black Republican Party. And it is he who will declare the Negro your equal.
The economic reality of slavery does not admit to forced or rapid abolition, and I do not advocate for any such radical course. But I will not stand by and have it expand into any new territory.
Leave slavery alone where it is, but forbid it from spreading. A common sense position that made national headlines. Mr. Lincoln lost his Senate race with Douglas, but just 2 years later, the American people bestowed upon him the highest office ever given to a man of such humble origin.
Lincoln, I have been thinking how I may best serve our country.
Have you now?
I believe Ben Franklin's old job would suit.
Ambassador to France.
Ambassador to France. I only wish my wife had lived to see the day.
God rest Angeline's soul, Hill. Mary and I miss her terribly. But as for ambassador, fact is, I want you to come to Washington with me.
In what capacity?
I don't know yet. But a fight may be coming, and if it does, it will be handy to have you around.
Second administration?
My friend, if there is a second administration, you and I both live to see it, then yes. You shall make a superb ambassador to France.
The fight came quickly. 7 states left the Union, and 7 more embarked upon the same course. Sacks of letters arrived daily, cursing Mr. Lincoln for destroying our nation and promising to destroy him in return. One fellow even demonstrated his intent by sending Mrs. Lincoln a painting of her husband, tarred, feathered, and hanging by the neck.
My friends, no one not in my situation can appreciate my feeling of sadness at this parting. To this place and the kindness of these people, I owe everything.
Gentlemen,
Hill, we entrust the sacred life of Mr. Lincoln to your keeping.
I am honored, sir.
Hill, if you fail to protect him, never
Return to Illinois, for we will murder you on sight.
I will not fail him.
Lynch you, shoot you, hang you, burn you.
We have seized the federal forts, all but Sumter and Charleston.
That's it then. It's war.
No. Traitors have seized federal forts. They will be prosecuted. But the Southern people never chose this course, and I will not make war on them.
And I tell you, they have already made war on you. My own brothers are burning Union flags.
That is free speech, not war.
Shoulder arms!
1, 2!
He cannot order the forts retaken before he is inaugurated.
He can announce his intentions.
Any such announcement will precipitate war.
So, we're to make 70 stops in 12 days. I must neither speak nor remain silent. War is imminent. And our great American experiment, now entrusted to my care, hangs by a thread. Well, old Dan Tucker was a fine old man. Washed his face in a frying pan. Combed his hair with a wagon wheel. Died with a toothache in his heel. Get out the way, old Dan Tucker. He's too late to get his supper. Supper's over and breakfast cooking. Old Dan Tucker is standing there looking.
Old Dan Tucker, he got drunk, fell in the fire and picked up the
Citizens of Columbus, Buffalo, Albany, Trenton.
Dan Tucker, he's too late to get his supper. Supper's over and breakfast cooking. Old Dan Tucker standing there looking. Old Dan Tucker went to town, riding a mule and leading a hound. Hound barked, mule jumped, laid old Dan upon a stump. Get out the way, old Dan Tucker, he's too late to get his supper. Supper's over and breakfast cooking. Old Dan Tucker standing there looking.
Here's old Danny comes to town, swings the ladies round and round, swings one east, swings one west, swings with the one he loves the best.
Get out the way, old Dan Tucker, he's too late to get his supper. Supper's over and breakfast cooking. Old Dan Tucker stand there looking.
Then began early in life, play the banjo and the fife. He loved the children all asleep, then into his bunk he crept.
Mr. Lincoln.
Hill? Hill. It's our old friend Pinkerton. How are you, sir? Mrs. Lincoln?
Ma'am.
How do you come to be here?
Detective job for the railroad, sir. Mr. Lincoln, we've come to know, sir, and beyond the shadow of a doubt, there exists an organized plot to assassinate you.
A balderdash. No president was ever assassinated.
The attempt will be made tomorrow at Baltimore Station. A gang of toughs will start a fight to draw off the police. Assassins will then approach through the crowd and plunge their knives into your side.
You have evidence?
Here are the names.
But you know of it. Surely the police will stop them.
The chief of police is one of them, ma'am.
We'll change the route.
You'll not find a safe route through Maryland if they know you're coming. Sir, we propose to take you to Washington this very night and steal a march on your enemies.
Steal into the Capitol like a thief in the night.
Would you prefer a funeral, ma'am?
The papers will shriek.
We will surround him with a regiment and cut our way through.
With Mrs. Lincoln and the boys aboard, the papers will praise you for putting their safety first.
It is a mob of desperate characters in Baltimore, Mr. Lincoln, but they expect you tomorrow. Pass through tonight and destroy their plot.
I believe I must.
Aye. We'll change trains in Harrisburg. Kindly leave the hat behind. Ye and I will then ride on as private citizens.
I will ride with Mr. Lincoln.
The plan calls for one companion.
I have pledged my life to preserve, protect, and defend Mr. Lincoln. I will ride with him.
Mr. President.
I will ride with Hill. No doubt there'll be a great time in Dixie by and by.
Can't pull that on me.
Do not strike him. He's the new senator from Oregon.
Ned Baker. Lamon, old fellow. Welcome to Washington City. Now, let us shove off ere we're observed. Neighbors will have their fun soon enough.
The papers did more than have their fun. They crucified him, saying he was an imbecilic, namby-pamby coward who would make America the laughing stock of the world for having no better material out of which to make a president.
Determined to avoid any further show of cowardice, Mr. Lincoln flatly refused all attempts to place guards about his person. And it is only because I provided companionship and musical diversion that he tolerated my own heavily armed presence.
Just get on with it.
His first official act was to throw open the doors of the executive mansion to any American who desired conversation with the president. And seemingly all 30 millions of them accepted the offer.
They are blueprints, sir, for a library in Clarkstown, New York.
You wrote them yourself?
Nothing will prevent war, but my acquiescence in their secession.
Then it is equally plain you must reinforce Sumter. These Cavaliers believe that Northern men are deficient in the courage necessary to maintain government, and they will be undeceived.
If the U.S. Army invades Charleston, Europe will rush in to defend this fledgling Confederate democracy from tyranny.
England and France love freedom, sir. They will never recognize a confederacy of slave owners too indolent to farm their own land.
Yes, however, the stoppage of American cotton will reduce whole communities to famine and possibly spark revolutions throughout Europe. Now, against this outcome, England and France will not only recognize the Confederate States of America, they will feed them, arm them, and reinforce them with legions of men.
I am commander-in-chief of all our forces. I cannot surrender a federal fort without a fight.
Well, then you must invade Mexico.
Come again, Mr. Seward?
Well, a foreign fight will unite North and South and provide long distraction while we negotiate.
Gentlemen, I must think. It's a Gordian knot. Give England and France cause to enter the war, or surrender both the fort and the honor of my office.
What says your instinct?
My instinct says find another choice.
Mrs. Lincoln, please stop. You will be pricked.
Father, it is an outrage. Because my brothers joined the Confederacy, they charge me with treasonous sympathy.
Molly, you bedazzle me.
I do?
I too am dazzled, ma'am.
Oh, it is the finest Parisian silk.
Excellent work, Mrs. Keck.
But Father, this reporter calls me a Confederate spy.
At least you're not likened to a simian brute, as I usually...
Marshal Lamon, you must arrest this man, shut down his paper, and clear the...
I'm sorry, Mrs. Lincoln. I was not able to secure the pins.
No, Mrs. Keckley. I ought not to have rushed off. But it is so vexing!
I will send this publisher a note, Mother, as soon as I find a way to stop England and France from joining this war.
England and France are ancient sovereign nations who respect a strong potentate. One who does more than send a note.
Mother, we will spare no effort to rectify your good name.
Thank you. Good night.
Mr. President.
Mrs. Keckley. It is grotesque that any would consider me the aggressor when traitors besiege my forts.
I am reminded of the young man whose aged parents had a considerable amount of property.
Yes. Killed the poor folks to get his inheritance. Judge asked why he should not be hanged.
The young man replied, "Please have mercy on me, for I am a poor orphan."
Hill, that's it. England and France will not exonerate an orphan who kills his own parents. These Southerners are so hungry for war, they will fire first, even without provocation. So I will not reinforce Sumter. I will simply send the men food. If that precipitates war, I dare say, the ancient sovereign nations will keep out.
The rebels did fire first. Europe kept out, and Mr. Lincoln took the first trick.
The real trick is smash a little, cut a little, and dip.
Mr. President, a rebel flag flies across the Potomac in full view of the executive mansion. It is an affront, sir.
An egregious affront.
Commissioned to cross the river and retrieve said flag, sir.
By all means, dear boy. No. Willie, you and Ted shall observe this crucial mission from a presidential perspective. Come.
Flag shall be yours by noon, sir.
Godspeed, Colonel. See, the Colonel shall occupy the furthest reach.
Colonel Ellsworth always put on a good show. His Zouave militia thrilled the nation with their precision drills. And it was Ellsworth himself who recruited the first 75,000 Union volunteers. Indeed, the war fever had come. Even Senator Baker joined up.
My boy. Is it necessary the sacrifice should be made?
He was carrying it down the stairs. They shot him in the heart.
They will mourn that shot.
Mr. Lincoln pushed his generals to commence operations at once. They met the enemy at Bull Run. It was a Union debacle.
General McClellan.
President.
Well, you now command all the forces of the East. We outnumber them 2 to 1. I suggest we advance everywhere at once. Those not skinning can hold a leg. The enemy will soon be overcome.
Mr. President, that is not the way we conduct a war.
Explain your plan.
Mr. Blair?
McClellan did transform our battered eastern forces into a mighty army, but he would not risk an actual battle until he had more men, cannon, and horses than Napoleon himself. The result was stagnation in the east, heavy losses in the west, and mounting anger at Mr. Lincoln.
The people hate your war. They'll not bleed for you or your beloved Negroes, and you must stop now.
The people demand war. They want the slaves freed. And you must act now.
The war costs $1 million a day. We shall have to impose an income tax to pay for it, and then God help our Republican Party.
The lack of any success exasperates Europe. They speak again of interceding. If that happens, all is lost.
Are you not Commander-in-Chief, sir? Do something!
Jill, I need a victory. Something to show that the ship of state is not, in fact, rudderless.
I could visit McClellan, have a talk, as I used to with our recalcitrant clients.
No. No. They all account him a genius. And he toils night and day, preparing the army for the great battle to end this war. But I will insist the other generals advance.
Sir, Grant and Sherman both moving in Kentucky. Butler took the Outer Banks in North Carolina.
Good, good, that is good.
We did have a setback at Ball's Bluff, though.
Where's that?
It's just up the river, sir. It's a small action, but a regiment was overwhelmed. 223 killed, including the commander and Colonel Baker.
Ned Baker?
It says Edward D. Baker. You know him, sir.
There was no patriot like Baker. So noble and so true. He fell as a soldier on the field, his face to the sky of blue. His country has her part to play toward those he's left behind. His widow and his children all. You must always keep in mind.
Ned Baker was the only senator ever to die in battle, and his death hit Washington hard. Some weeks later, Mrs. Lincoln proposed a ball to show that we remained confident of the war's outcome, and the president agreed. I was made Marshal of Ceremonies, a duty I often undertook to better control access to the president's person.
The Marine Band is playing. The banquet is served. The only item lacking from the First Lady's ball is the First Lady.
Go, Ma.
I should have canceled the ball. What if it's typhoid?
Dr. Stone said it's not.
I have sat with many a sick child, Mrs. Lincoln. If the fever rises, I will send for you.
Mother, Mrs. Keckley can be trusted. And we have 800 guests.
Well, there will be no dancing.
Ball with no dancing. There is a war, after all.
Well, he is an abolitionist deep down, but his hands are tied.
It is not abolition. He is a commander-in-chief of an army fighting a slave power.
Yes, yes, free their slaves and remove their power. I tell him this repeatedly. But he insists that the cause is union.
That is why our boys fight.
What does our sacred union stand for, if not freedom?
The border states are slave states. Any talk of emancipation will cause them to join the rebellion.
Mr. President, doing God's will is more important than placating a pack of slaveholders at the border.
Mr. Chase, I would like to have God on my side, but I must have Kentucky.
The honor is not ceremonial, ma'am, I assure you. The president's life is in constant jeopardy.
Oh, how dreadful. And tell me, do you accompany him everywhere?
God knows I try, ma'am, but he is a nimble gentleman.
Marshal Lamon, you are a Virginia horseman. How on earth could old Abe Lincoln escape your watch?
Well, the War Department has many egresses. Ma'am, may I show you an astonishing sight?
Oh. Please do.
Washington swarmed with spies, many remarkably attractive. Extreme vigilance was required, even at the risk of discomfiting the innocent.
If I may. Old Cap prison for interrogation.
But what have I done?
We shall ask the questions, ma'am.
It is the war. The entire city is a barracks. Gastric illness is widespread, and it often evolves into typhoid.
Mr. President, from General Grant, sir. Yes. I offered no terms, but unconditional and immediate surrender. Enemy accepted. Fort Donelson ours. Gives us the Cumberland River, sir. A true victory at last.
Mother? Oh, dear God. Oh, dear God.
My boy is actually gone.
No, let me go. Let me go. My baby, please.
When I lost my wife, you covered my cases as long as I needed. But God help me, Lincoln, I cannot cover yours. You must...
How is Mrs. Lincoln?
Her anguish destroys her. She blames herself for Willie's death. Because the ball was so lavish.
Perhaps she's right. I should not have allowed it.
Oh, no, sir. No. The Lord took Willie for his own purposes.
An 11-year-old boy? What purpose was that?
I'm sorry, sir.
No,
I did not
Mrs.
mean
Keckley, tell me, what purpose had God to take my son?
I cannot say, sir. But when I lost my son, I was comforted by the story of Jacob. He mourned for Joseph all those years, yet in the end, it was because Joseph was taken that he became God's instrument in saving the whole family.
But Joseph was not dead.
No, sir. And neither is Willie. He lives in paradise.
Lives. Would that I had your faith, Mrs. Keckley. For I have lost many people. Another son years ago. My sister, my mother, when I was a boy. Others are comforted by stories of heaven, but I never had that faculty.
Beg pardon, sir, but faith is not a faculty. It is a choice. No one can prove that God is or is not. Yet anyone can choose to seek his wisdom and his mercy in this world. When I made that choice, I began to see his purpose even in our sufferings. And that choice has sustained me through terrible days, sir.
When did you lose your son, Mrs. Keckley?
Last year, at Wilson's Creek.
The Battle of Wilson's Creek?
Yes, sir. George was light-skinned and he could pass. He enlisted as soon as the war began.
In an army that would not have taken him if his race were known. Mrs. Keckley, I'm so very sorry. George was a true patriot.
He enlisted to fight slavery, sir. George and I were both slaves until 1855. It took me 30 years to purchase our freedom. I did it with the money I earned dressmaking. But the Lord heard our cries, Mr. President. The cries of my people. And he remembered us. And he sent you to deliver us.
Mrs. Keckley, no. I am no prophet. I am just a man of the commonest sort, I assure you.
If that is true, sir, then how did you come to be president?
Why,
Mr. President, trust God. You are his instrument, sir. And you will do his work with Willie watching over you.
I, Abraham Lincoln, as President of the United States. I, Abraham Lincoln, as Commander-in-Chief of the Army and Navy, do order and declare that all persons held as slaves in any rebellious state.
President, dispatch from General Grant. From Shiloh Church on the Tennessee River. Driven back yesterday, regrouped, counterattacked, and held the river. Sir, it's a great victory.
Hallelujah.
Especially commend General Sherman for holding the center, though wounded twice and 3 horses shot out from under him.
Give that to the papers. We need a hero.
And the casualties?
Oh, dear God. 13,000.
That is both sides.
It's Union, sir. The enemy lost 10,000.
Just to hold a piece of river.
Losing 13,000 to their 10 is not winning. Grant must be replaced, sir.
I cannot spare this man. He fights.
Mr. Lincoln had resumed his duties, but not his routine. Hoping to ease Mary's grief, he shifted his family to the summer residence. The result was a daily 3-mile ride along an unguarded road teeming with opportunities for ambush. A trip he often undertook without notice to me.
Show yourself! I am a U.S. Marshal, and I will shoot you!
I, as Commander-in-Chief of the Army and Navy of the United States, do order and declare that on the 1st of January, 1863, all persons held as slaves within any state wherein the constitutional authority of the United States shall not be recognized and submitted to, shall then, thenceforward, and forever be free.
You have changed your mind entirely.
Yes, I have, Mr. Blair, and I don't think much of a man who's not wiser today than he was yesterday. Gentlemen, who's for it? Against? The ayes have it.
The vote was 3-2.
Mr. Chase, I am knocked into a cocked hat to hear you disapprove of this measure.
I favor emancipation, of course. But to do it now when we must pass an income tax and sell war bonds.
Would you prefer to wait until 1864?
I would prefer
Allow the next president to free the slaves? Perhaps you.
I believe it would be best to organize and arm the slaves.
No, it would not. But we will accept Negroes into the armed forces.
Hear, hear.
Mr. President, issuing this proclamation now with the rebellion completely unchecked might well be deemed the last desperate shriek of an exhausted government.
Precisely.
It's the wrong message to send to Europe. Now, I approve the measure. You know my views, but I strongly recommend we postpone this Emancipation Proclamation.
Until we win a battle.
Just so.
Months passed without our winning so much as a skirmish. For relief, Mr. Lincoln took to theater going, a practice I vehemently opposed for bringing him so near to great mobs in darkened rooms. I always feared that some villain would level his pistol at my friend, though I never imagined the malefactor might be standing upon the stage itself.
Well, he was the covertest sheltered traitor that ever lived. Would you imagine, or almost believe, were it not that by great preservation we live to tell it to you, the subtle traitor this day had plotted in the council house to murder me and my good lord of Gloucester? What? Had he so?
What? Think you we are Turks or infidels? Or that we would, against the form of law, proceed thus rashly with the villain's death? But that the extreme peril of the case, the peace of England and our person's safety enforced us to this execution.
He meant that for you, Papa.
He does look at me pretty sharp, doesn't he?
Deserved his death. And you, my good lord,
Would that I had seen that look. But at the time, John Wilkes Booth was only one of a multitude looking sharply at our president. McClellan had finally provided the long-awaited victory. The Emancipation Proclamation was made public, and death threats to Mr. Lincoln increased by 100-fold. One syndicate of Georgia planters even issued a bond worth $50,000 for my friend's life, and I could never know who would be tempted by such a vast offer.
Morning, boys. Bless you. Thank you for your service, son. Gentlemen. God bless you, boys. Bless you.
Didn't sign up to free no darkies.
Thank you for your great service. I'm in your debt.
Gunker Church, artillery stronghold, Burnside Bridge.
And that is Bloody Lane, where I pierced the Confederate center.
Herded them from the field of honor, eh?
Like sheep, Mr. President.
Why then did you not pursue? The bleeding sheep were before you. The axe in your hand. You might have crushed Lee's army and ended this terrible contest.
Why? We were exhausted. The fighting
How many thousands more will perish because you let him fly?
I repelled Lee's invasion, sir.
Hold still, please. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Thank you, gentlemen.
And I did it no thanks to you or any other politician.
General McClellan was finally relieved of his command.
you'll play that sad song.
I've wandered to the village town. I've sat beneath the tree, but none there to greet me, Tom, and few were left to know. Played with us upon the green some 20 years ago. Here I'll sit, gone to sing, tell you how the banjo ring, yeah, yeah, yeah. Song I know, please you to death, laugh you nearly out of breath, yeah, yeah, yeah. Pick-a-young butler, come, pick-a-young butler, come to town, ah-ooh, ah-ooh. Pick-a-young butler, come, pick-a-young butler. Day after the battle, dead soldiers heaped by the roadside. Lincoln slapped the knee of Marshal Lamon and exclaimed, "Give us that song about Picayune Butler!"
You do not appreciate the danger, sir. Senators Wade, Davis, Pomeroy, even Sumner by his silence, they all conspire against you.
Hill, for a man of accredited courage, you are the most panicky person I know.
They call you indecisive, feeble, incapable of winning the war.
Hill, criticism is not conspiracy.
Can you not see that they maneuver to replace you on the Republican slate?
I do. So I think we better win the war before November '64. Mr. Spencer, we will take 10,000.
But the new rifles did not alleviate our long season of failures. 1863 arrived, and with it, more loss.
Bless you, son. Deeply grateful for your service.
Good evening, Mr. President.
Oh, yes. Perhaps Chase should be president. He always seems to know what the Almighty wants, whereas I thought for one moment I was God's instrument. And then I brought down nothing but misery and despair.
Nothing but misery? Come with me.
If I could, I surely would stand on the rock where Moses stood. Pharaoh's army got drowned. Oh, Mary, don't you weep. Whoa, whoa, Mary.
People escaped because you proclaimed them free.
Mary, don't you weep, don't you mourn.
Here is no misery, sir.
Pharaoh's army got drowned.
Here is hope.
Oh, Mary, don't you weep.
God bless you. God, please. Please, don't kneel before me, please. Bless you. Bless you. Bless you, my dear. God bless you all. Bless you. My heart is with you.
Please sing. Sing. Don't let me stop you. You sound wonderful. Sing.
Oh, Mary, don't you weep, don't you mourn. Oh, Mary, don't you weep, don't you mourn. Pharaoh's army got drowned dead. Oh, Mary, don't you weep.
Well, when I get to heaven, gonna scream and shout. Nobody there's gonna put
July 4th, 1863. For a moment, we thought the war had ended. In the West, Grant captured Vicksburg at last, and an entire army with it. And in the East, where General Lee had invaded Pennsylvania.
From General Meade to Gettysburg. Yes. We have driven the invader from our soil.
Yes. Well done.
Driven the invader from our soil? My God, is that all?
Yes, sir.
Lee was 2 states away from his base of supply. Meade could have captured his entire army.
But, sir, we won the battle.
And lost 23,000 men. 23,000 killed, mangled, missing, and Lee right back where he was. The people will not stand for it. They will demand peace at any price, and then all of this is for nothing. Nothing!
Mr. President. Something has happened to Mrs. Lincoln.
The driver's bench fell off the carriage. The horses ran off. Sir, this was a terrible accident.
This was no accident, sir. A killer loosed that bench in the hopes that you would be the passenger.
Mother. Is the pain great?
Yes. Yet I do not mind it. For Nettie brings me such comfort.
Nettie.
Nettie Colburn, sir. The medium. She's famously gifted.
I've spoken to Willie, Father. He's so happy in heaven.
Is he?
Yes. Yes. As are Sam and little Alec. Did you know they fell at Baton Rouge and Shiloh?
Of course, Mother.
I could not mourn my own brothers, lest the papers call me a traitor. But now they know how much I miss them, especially Willie, Father. He comes to me now, even without Nettie's help. Little rascal.
I'm glad he is well.
Will you not attend a seance with me, Father? Nettie summons others from beyond. Some wondrously wise. They can help you win the war.
I will, Mother. As soon as my schedule permits. You rest now, and we will all dote on you until your wounds are healed. Find them.
Evening, sir. Ward Hill Lamon, U.S. Marshal. We are investigating an attempt.
I arrest you both.
We never found the man who loosed those bolts. But we did uncover a most heinous plan. seeking to kill Mr. Lincoln by infecting him with yellow fever. They gathered clothing from victims of the disease in Bermuda. Our detective work saved Mr. Lincoln, but I never could be at ease while absent from his side.
I am asked to be master of ceremonies at the dedication of the cemetery in Gettysburg. It is a great honor, of course. But as I cannot leave your side, I will tender my regrets. Of course, you could come and deliver a few appropriate remarks. But at such a time as this, for you to leave the capital, it is not possible, and I would not presume.
I will come.
The President of the United States!
Resistance to the war was growing. Mr. Lincoln needed to reinvigorate the people, to explain to them, and perhaps himself, why this endless plague of war must continue.
77 years ago, our fathers brought forth upon this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now, we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here have consecrated it far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living rather, to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they here gave the last full measure of devotion. That we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain. That this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom. And that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth.
It's far too short. You have nothing else to say?
Silly, flat, and dish-watery utterances of a man who must be pointed out to intelligent foreigners as the president.
Well, I've not had much time for foreign policy.
You have lost your own people, sir. 3 years of slaughter and no end in sight. Salmon P. Chase offers your ideals without your record. Pomeroy and his gang have circulated a letter demanding Chase's nomination. Mr. President, McClellan has agreed to run for the Democrats. He will offer peace with slavery, and the people will take it, unless our candidate is Chase. It's time now for Moses to hand the staff to Joshua so that he may lead our people into the promised land. Do not fail us, sir.
Coffee a banjo.
You have heard of the Pomeroy Circular?
I have intercepted a copy.
Bless you, Hill. Please hand it over quietly to the press.
But it exflunkticates you.
If the Almighty wants another man to finish my work, one who campaigns for my office while serving in my cabinet, who are we to defy him?
What kills the skunk is the publicity it gives itself.
Aye. Now, I shall do what I should have done long ago. General Grant, I now promote you to a rank last held by General George Washington.
Much obliged, sir. But it won't be paper who wins this war.
Tell me your plan.
I'll run the eastern armies, Sherman the west. We'll hit them everywhere at once.
Those not skinning can hold a leg.
Yes, sir. Mr. President, win or lose, we keep hitting.
Godspeed.
From General Grant, 14,000 casualties. He will attack again in the morning. $17,000.
My God. 31,000 boys. I cannot bear it. I cannot bear it. And yet he advances.
Another 12,000 at Cold Harbor, of which 7,000 fell in the first 8 minutes. Total is now 54,000, sir. 54,000 soldiers in 1 month.
Thank God for our brave Negro troops. Lee will run out of men before we do.
Mr. President, he must be stopped.
Lee will be stopped.
Grant, sir.
Grant? No. Grant cannot be stopped.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Thank you, Mr. President. You just give me a few minutes to develop the plate.
Oh, can I see?
Tad, these are not for you. Here, look at a picture of General Grant on his horse.
Ain't no Nancy boy.
Tad. Look, oh, look at that. Tom Thumb. P.T. Barnum. Oh, look at this. Chang and Ang, huh?
These are morbid, sir. But look at the Parrott gun Grant's using at Petersburg, 13 inches.
Pop, can I see?
Take him home.
So I'd prefer to stay with you.
Can't I see him, Pop?
Come, Tad. Let's go get a lemon ice.
Can I get strawberry?
My favorite.
3 cheers for Hill! Hooray!
forgotten your promise. Nettie Colvin's here. Everyone's waiting. May I present Nettie Colburn?
So this is the famous Nettie.
Yes, sir. So honored, sir. I insisted my father vote for you.
Mr. President, an honor, sir. We are accustomed to sit in a circle. We wait until one of our spirit friends takes control of Miss Colburn.
Mr. President, pleased to make your acquaintance. Ezra Bamford, MD.
Now I have seen the elephant.
Shh. Sir, I have traveled a long way to tell you this. Stand fast by General Grant, and Richmond will be yours.
Are you a military doctor, then?
No, I was a country doctor. But I am given to know that strong parties urge you to dismiss Grant. They say the cost is too high. He'll never prevail. He'll cost you the election. But, Mr. President, you must in no wise heed such counsel. Stand firm behind your convictions and fearlessly perform the work for which you have been elevated.
And this you are given to know.
I am, sir.
And are you given to know how many boys have crossed into your realm thanks to the work I have already performed?
A great many.
300,000. Dr. Bamford, an entire city of boys.
They made the sacrifice proud.
Oh, you dare speak for them? You speak for their mothers as well?
Yours is not an easy task, Mr. President. You bear it heroically.
Heroically? I condemn multitudes with a pen. I am incompetent. And it was my own self-serving ambition which elevated me.
No president has ever stood in the field of battle. Your place, sir, is on that boat. Must Mary bury another Lincoln?
Lieutenant, remove Marshal Lamon from the fort.
I can't! For 3 years, I have fought spies, traitors, and assassins who seek to destroy you. And yet, more than any of them, it is you. You, sir, who endangered the life of the only man fit to command our ship of state.
Lieutenant!
Stay still! You answer me one question, and then you may return to the cannon's mouth and the devil take you. When you stood in the line of fire, other men fell. Why was your life spared?
I don't know!
Speak up, sir! You are commander-in-chief of an army fighting unnecessary war! Now that army must take life. I know you hate it! It is a terrible destiny, sir! But if you did not hate it so, the Almighty himself would not have selected you for it!
Yeah!
Yes!
I must return to the White House!
Thank you!
Thank you, Hill!
Well, that's why you brung me. Now come!
I am a poor, wayfaring stranger, traveling through this world of woe. Yet there's no sickness, toil, nor danger in that bright world to which I go. I'm going there to see my Father. I'm going there, no more to roam.
Hill.
Only go.
I have something to tell you.
I'm only go.
You know how I hate to ride about with armed guards.
I have observed the phenomenon.
Well, you needn't worry any longer.
Much obliged. Just wake me up before you absquatulate into the night.
I mean, the guards will no longer be necessary.
Come again.
Hill, last night, I rode out to the summer residence alone.
I know.
I was jogging along at a slow gait, immersed in contemplation. Suddenly, bang! I was separated from my $8 plug hat with no assent on my part, express or implied. It was returned to me this morning. Rather the worse for wear, I'm afraid.
This is your evidence for the claim I need no guards?
Hill, the Almighty spared me for a purpose.
Yes, he did. But it would be a sin to rely on his good nature when you have earthly guards close at hand.
Hill, I see it now. I will be spared until my purpose is accomplished. And then, when the war is finally won, I shall be gathered unto Willie, Ellsworth, Ned, all the other boys. The veil between them and me is thin already. But I will not be taken until then. This hat is the proof.
What if last night was simply a near miss? And you are alive today because I have repeatedly saved you these past 4 years.
Why then, my friend, we are both God's instruments.
Mr. President, the Secretary of War.
Message from Sherman. Atlanta is ours and fairly won.
Yippee!
The fall of Atlanta transformed the national mood. Candidate McClellan was all but forgotten, and Mr. Lincoln swept to a second term.
I have given the matter much thought. I now release you from your promise.
My promise.
I will sacrifice my ambassadorship to France so that you may retain my companionship here.
I see. Ward Hill Lamon, you have the thanks of a grateful nation and my own. Good night, old friend.
Sherman now planned a 1,000-mile march through the heart of the South in order to join Grant at Richmond. Sherman made Georgia howl. But as the enemy was cornered, so he became more dangerous. His next plot was almost admirable for its sheer ambition. Mr. Lincoln was to be kidnapped and exchanged for 200,000 prisoners.
Halt and identify yourself!
Throw down your weapon now!
I will throw down your souls before I throw down
Marshal Lamon! Is that you?
Mr. Stanton?
Is the president with you?
No, sir. I come in search of him.
Well, he's not here. And I am growing exceedingly concerned for his safety.
As am I, sir. As am I. Ha!
Good night, Senator. Good night, Your Excellency.
Good night, Mr. President. Good night, Mr. President.
Oh, Phil, there you are. Good evening.
You went to the theater?
Yes, a superior Othello.
You went to the theater unattended?
No,
When I say unattended, I mean you went with Charles Sumner and a foreign minister, neither of whom could defend himself against the assault of an able-bodied woman. You know that your life is sought after, and that I have provided men to safeguard your person. I myself am always ready to perform the duty when I am not out playing the detective. Yet despite all of this, you choose to elude us. So be it. But I will not pass into history as the man who lost Lincoln. You shall have my resignation in the morning.
I cannot fault you.
I shall miss you, sir.
Perhaps Mr. Lincoln did not fault you, but I do.
There is more.
I have heard enough.
Let him finish. Billy.
My wife is as handsome as when she was a girl. And I, a poor nobody, fell in love with her. What is more, I've never fallen out.
The lost army is found.
From Sherman. News from Sherman.
Mr. President, I beg to present to you as a Christmas gift the city of Savannah.
Marvelous tidings.
Now he has only to transect the Carolinas.
Yeah, Mr. President, a word, if you please. Where is Lamon?
He was called away.
Well, he must be called back. This is an advertisement now running in the Southern papers. If the citizens of the Confederacy will furnish me with cash or good securities in the sum of $1 million, I will cause the lives of Abraham Lincoln, William H. Seward, and Andrew Johnson to be taken by the 1st of March next.
The Secretary of State will be honored to have been mentioned ahead of the Vice President.
You joke, sir.
Mr. Stanton, that man will never raise a cold million.
He need only to apply in Montreal. Rebel agents there are dispersing enormous sums for just such operations. Killers are coming, Mr. President. It is the enemy's only hope. And your continued disregard for the presidential person is nigh unto treason.
I believe that I will be spared, Mr. Stanton, at least until the war.
Just answer. Where is Lamon?
I cannot say. both read the same Bible and pray to the same God. It may seem strange that any man should dare to ask, a just God's assistance in wringing their bread from the sweat of other men's faces. Let us judge not, that we be not judged.
Bang! Have you any idea how easy it is to reach your person?
Did you plan to kill me yourself by way of extreme fright?
Oh, it is the guards around this mansion who will soon suffer extreme fright.
Are you back then?
Well, if I'm to be the man who lost Lincoln, at least I shall do so while standing my post.
Good. I need a proper marshal of ceremonies.
If any of you should fail to protect the president, God have mercy on your soul, or I shall have none. Take your post.
Everyone knows what throngs assemble to witness the inauguration of a president of the United States. It is astonishing that any man could have seriously entertained the thought of assassinating Mr. Lincoln in the presence of such a concourse of citizens. And yet, there was such a man in the assemblage. He was there for the single purpose of murdering our leader in the vain hope that the South might thereby rise again. That man was John Wilkes Booth.
It's lovely. It's wonderful. Brisk out.
I must congratulate the president. I must congratulate the president.
Had I known the blackguard's true intent, Booth's eyes would have never again beheld the sun.
Unhand me, you ill-bred harlot!
But I thank God we deterred the villain that day, and that we thereby enabled Mr. Lincoln to deliver his speech. For it was not an inaugural address. It was a farewell. And his words of parting shall forever convey his spirit to anyone not blessed to know him as we did.
With malice toward none, with charity for all, with firmness in the right as God gives us to see the right, let us strive on to finish the work we are in, to bind up the nation's wounds, to care for him who shall have borne the battle, and for his widow and his orphan, to do all which may achieve and cherish a just and a lasting peace among ourselves and with all nations.
Well done, sir. Well done.
April 10th, 1865. We awoke to the sound of a cannon. A 500-gun salute to the president. The war was won.
Thanksgiving is being prepared and will be duly promulgated. But for now, I shall request one of the best songs I ever heard. Captain, let the band play Dixie. It is time to return it to the National Songbook. Please. Friends.
I wish I was in the land of cotton. Old times there are not forgotten.
Look away, look away, look away in Dixieland. In Dixieland, where I was born in early on a frosty morning. Look away, look away, look away, Dixieland. I wish I was in Dixie. Hooray, hooray. In Dixieland I'll take my stand to live and die in Dixie. Away, away, away down south Dixie. There you are, old friend.
On such a night as this, put aside your temperate ways and have yourself a bumper.
Hill, I have a mission for you.
Oh?
I need an ambassador. A Virginian with tact.
Pardon?
Tact and diplomacy to convey a message to Richmond. All that matters now is reconstruction, and I need our best men on the job.
I can see why you thought of me, but...
Hill, you are going.
War is over.
And thank God I've lived to see it. And thank you, Hill.
But you are still in danger.
Oh, come. The war is done. Now, be a good ambassador and go to Richmond.
But...
Hill, you are going.
Will you promise me one thing?
Anything within my power.
Do not go out at night, particularly to the theater.
Hill, you are a monomaniac on this subject. I promise I will do the best I can for you.
I shall know it if you don't.
Goodbye, Hill. Godspeed.
Goodbye, Lincoln.
That was the last time I ever saw my friend.
You asked me why I did not save Mr. Lincoln. I did not save Mr. Lincoln because Mr. Lincoln did not wish to be saved. He completed his work, and he earned his rest. Now you will do what you must.
How that man loved to laugh.
Yes. You two both look.
And low comedy was his favorite.
Now, some gals and mothers would go away from such a fellow when they find that out.
The villain waited for the play's biggest laugh to cover the sound of his pistol. And that is what enabled Mr. Lincoln to leave this world doing what he loved most.
What will Miss Harris think of me hanging on to you so?
She won't think anything about it.
Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He is trampling out the vintage where the grapes of wrath are stored. He hath loosed the fateful lightning of his terrible swift sword. His truth is marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. His truth is marching on. I have seen him in the watchfires of 100 circling camps. They have builded him an altar in the evening dews and damps. I can read his righteous sentence by the dim and flaring lamps. His day is marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. His day is marching on. He has sounded forth the trumpet that shall never call retreat. He is sifting out the hearts of men before his judgment seat. Oh, be swift, my soul, to answer him. Be jubilant, my feet. Our God is marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Our God is marching on. He is coming like the glory of the morning on the wave. He is wisdom to the mighty. He is succor to the brave. So the world shall be his footstool, and the soul of time his slave. Our God is marching on.